Dive to as low as $40 per barrel. OPEC will not cut production to drive them up. That's the message from officials of the cartel. So to discuss this now, I'm joined by RT correspondents Polly Boyko in London and Murad Gaziev here in the studio. So let's start with you, Murad. So I wonder, with this latest statement, what can we expect from the next OPEC meeting then? Presumably not a lot.
Well, they've said they're not going to hold an emergency meeting over this, and they're very much still chanting their latest mantra that we don't care, that oil can do whatever it wants. It can go down to as low as $40, which is a pretty big drop considering it's now at 60. And they're saying we still won't do anything. But I was actually at their last meeting in Vienna, where all these ministers came in, and I talked to them, and they said they were quite open about it, how unhappy they were at the falling oil prices. They were grumbling that something must be done. They went into the meeting for 2 hours. They come out with blank faces saying, we're not going to do anything, and we agreed to do so unanimously. So it's all very strange, and there's really no telling whether OPEC really means this, what they're going to do next. It's an international oil cartel. They have their own interests to look after, and actually trying to predict what they'll do is sometimes called OPECology, and it can be compared to, palm reading or astrology. So.
Well, we know that Russia is energy dependent, and we know that the markets here are having an effect, of course. What about the ruble? What about the markets here? What is the Moscow reaction to all of this?
Well, it's been negative, expectedly so. The ruble is hovering at record lows, 60 rubles to the dollar, unheard of before. But again, it's no surprise. The people here have resigned themselves to the fact that oil is tumbling, and oil will continue to fall in value. So it's again nothing unexpected, and nobody's sitting around with their fingers crossed hoping that today will be the day that oil finally bounces back up. But again, oil is seen as an international benchmark, an economic benchmark. When oil rises, the global economy is doing well. People are buying more petrol, businesses are buying various fossil fuels. And whenever oil falls in value, the world economy isn't doing so well, as we're seeing now, really. Indeed.
Well, if we look internationally, if we look at what's happening on the markets at the moment, we know Asia markets are tanking because of this this oil price. We've got American stocks as well posting their biggest loss in what, 2 years or so. European markets around 3 years or so. So actually, I want to, while we talk about international affairs, let's get over to Polly in London. I want to know what the reaction is there, because, as I say, it's not really just the major oil producing countries, is it, Polly, that are having trouble with this oil price balancing the books. What's the London reaction, and what's the consequences there?
Well, the cost of petrol here is almost down to £1 per litre. Filling up a car in Britain hasn't been this cheap since back in 2009. So motorists have been able to save a few pennies, but it's not all good news, because that plummeting oil price has knocked the oil and gas industry here sideways. Major oil companies such as Shell and BP are having to cut costs, they're having to cut jobs, and they're having to cut investment. And that's having a knock-on effect on all the oil and gas service companies within the UK. A new report out today, figures in it show that the number of UK oil companies that have declared insolvency over the past year has trebled compared to the year before. So we're seeing an increasing number of companies here that work in the oil industry that are unable to balance their books as a result of what's happening on the global oil market. And there's talk that these companies, after a few very lucrative years, were simply unprepared for this period of sustained deterioration of the oil price. So the bottom line is, with the price per barrel as it is right now, the prediction is that there's just not going to be enough work to go around for the entire oil industry here in Britain.
Right, Polly Boyko in London. Thanks for giving us the update from Britain there. Thank you very much indeed. And Murad Gaziev joining me here in Moscow. Thank you.